New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello. Welcome to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we're happy to be here with you today on this Wednesday. Woo! It's a warm one here in Albuquerque.
We are in Albuquerque.
Which is where we are broadcasting from today. I believe last week we were in California.
You believe.
I believe.
And so it is. Yep, that's where we were. So here it is 94 degrees and steadily climbing. And I heard it's supposed to get hotter over the next few days. So.
I have 98 on mine, so there you go. It's definitely somewhere hot.
That's because it's your side of the room. It's hotter over there.
It's hot.
It's getting hot in here.
I have to take off all my clothes.
Okay. And so here we are. So welcome. Please let us know you're out there in the chat. We'd love to hear from you and hear where you are and what the temperature is. So, today we are going to just be diving into one of the biggest spiritual practices there is, which is loving it all, loving all of it. Loving all of it, not just the easy moments, not just the, polished, shiny moments, but the messy, confusing, beautifully human pieces that we usually try to hide or fix or make fit into alignment with someone else. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yes. And I think anyway, we'll get to that. Loving all of it. And so as we kind of joke about how hot it is here and all of that, loving all of it. It's gonna be hot. So Robyn just showed me a video this morning of someone who was, for the first time in their life, walking across the Rio Grande River because there's no water in it.
There is no water. It is
There's
dry.
No water in it.
You would never know that was a river.
How do we love it? Well, we find the positive in it. We find the way to love it as it is and allow it to be. So right now, the river does not appear to have water. And so we love the river.
Yes, we do. But before we get to all of that, how are you?
Okay, doing all right. Little ready for a nap, which I seem to say every week, I think. But we flew yesterday, as you know, and
shh, it's a secret. No one
that's
knows
right.
we're home.
We're not here. This is not Albuquerque that we are sitting in. But we, it's always bittersweet coming home. I mean, the the dogs haven't left our side. They basically keep finding ways to have themselves against both of us at the same time. And, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be home. And I like the feeling of not having quite as much that I had to be worried about. So that was nice.
When you were gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
But I think it's mostly a feeling. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think it's mostly just a feeling. I don't know that it's really real.
Well, and again, it's an opportunity for you to love it all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about you?
Good. It was a good week. It was busy. It certainly didn't feel like a vacation to me. And yet, being in California for me is really grounding. And so I just love it. I love everything about it. Traffic. I didn't love the smog. There was a lot of smog in LA. Not as much. There was some down south in San Diego, Carlsbad area, but more in LA in the valley when we were there. And that was really disappointing because there was a time where it cleared up, and it seems to have regressed. So that's sad. I mean, and then of course there was COVID where everything cleared up. But other than that, it was a great week. And yeah, like you said, it's mixed emotions, right? And it's always hard to come back. And you wish you had more time there. But we didn't.
And I will say that, we were there for several things, but a couple of them were 2 memorials on Saturday, and it was an opportunity to see a whole lot of people that we know and that we have missed. And there was something very inspiring about all of that, and reminding us of why we do spiritual community, at least for me. Why do I do this?
Well, yeah, it will. I mean, I don't know how people feel at their centers, but I know where we came up, we were at a very large center. So we were in Los Angeles at Agape International, and it was it was hundreds of people all the time. And like your classes had like 60 people in it. So I likened this weekend to going back to high school reunion, because it was like, we saw all these old people. You saw your favorite teachers. You hung out with Reverend Michael. We were at another memorial with Ricky, and our old choir with like choir members from over 25 years ago singing away. We were singing like, it was yesterday, and it was it was a portal to the past. I mean, it was like going back in time. And it was good. That was the good thing. It was good to go back in time.
Right.
You were happy to see people, and people came up to you, and just like high school, people come up to you and they say things like, "I always thought you were," or "You always reminded me," and you're thinking, "I don't know who you are," But I mean, it's like there are so many people that was true for, that would come up and say different things. And not that I didn't know who they were, but they weren't people I hung out with, or, people I would have remembered off the bat. Plus, not just mention the fact that everybody's 20 years older.
Yeah.
So that's always an interesting dynamic. And there are those that look younger, and there are those that you're like, wait, really? That's them? And there are those that go, oh, I'm 82 years old. And you're like, what? How on earth did that happen? And so it was just an interesting time. Hello, Shay. Shay was there on live stream. Yep, she was. She was right there in the mix. So it was just beautiful to share and to know it was being shared and all of that stuff. So.
Well, and there's something inspiring about the connections that are there, and the community. We had a heck of a community, have a community there, and that's the vision of community that I hold.
Yeah.
And it's not about fixing something or making it better. It's just about opening up to what's possible. And I think that's what was really encouraging to me. It was just like, okay, it's kind of like when you drive a nice car after driven a regular car, and you go, oh, do a couple things to it. It's pretty nice. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it's different, and you realize how close you are and yet where the holes are. So
That's an interesting hairstyle you have today. Is that on purpose?
it's
It's not that piece. It's the one that flips over that looks like a wave.
yeah, it's not really intentional. No,
Okay.
it's less than that.
All right. Well, you're rocking it, so that's good. So that's the story. That's our week. That's how it's been, and just one of those times when you get to kind of look at your life as a whole.
Yeah.
Just, go, wow, it's pretty incredible. So anyway, I was glad to be there and share it with everybody. Shay says it was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, there aren't really words,
Right.
No. It was beyond, there aren't really words. So I'm not going to give them to them.
Well, one of the things was that, we were at two different memorials in two different locations on the same day. And there was something about that sort of felt difficult, and yet it was perfect. It was perfect to be able to walk through all of that and see all the different people and hold all the people. And it was great. So,
and to see who showed up at the second one with a costume change.
yes, which were most
Very
of them,
impressive.
unlike myself, who had no costumes. So there you go.
There you go. That's the simplicity of loving it all.
That's right.
So there you have it. So, what's it time for? The good news.
It's time for
As if
good
that
news.
wasn't good enough, there is more. So do tell, what are you talking about today, Mr. Olmstead?
Well, I have a story for you today, and this is, near and dear to my heart. It's about a father and son who recently completed 18,000 miles on their bicycles. They circumnavigated the world, and they left in one direction from their front door and returned from the other direction.
That's cool.
They went through multiple countries and continents, and they broke set three world records, which is pretty impressive. They had, their ups and downs. They had emotional stuff and, family related stuff that they had to work through as they went through the process. But one of the things that caught my eye in the article was the son said that there was, he's asked what were the highlights, and he said, well, one of the highlights was they were riding through Turkey, and a sheep herder up on the mountain called to them and asked them to come to him. And so they went up to him, and he offered them breakfast and made them breakfast, and they sat and ate together, even though they didn't speak the same language or anything. And that was just such a powerful experience of, when there's something about when you're closer to the land, and you're doing that, it makes it a positive thing. So anyway, I was pretty impressed. Their awards were kind of interesting. I was going to read what they were here. I can't tell what they are, but there were three of them. And they did 18,000 miles on their bicycles in just over a year, about 400 days. So, wow,
What
that's
an
some intense riding.
amazing, there's so many, it sounds like there's so many gifts in that story.
Yes, I think there are. And there were a bunch of other times that they, talked about, but that was just one of the ones that really stood out to me. So that's my good news story of the day.
That's very cool. I also like just the thought of a father and son on that journey together.
Yeah.
What an incredible legacy and story to have with each other. All right, my story is about a boy who found a 2 million year old tooth from an elephant on a walk on the beach. And he's an 11-year-old boy, and he made this once in a lifetime discovery while he was walking on the beach with his mom, and they're in England, and he discovered this tooth that is basically measures 4 inches in width, and it was confirmed to be an upper left molar of an Anacus arbornicis.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow, I haven't seen too many of those.
and it says that the mammal was extinct from the earth roughly 8.5 2 million years ago, 8.5 2 million years ago, and it's a relative of the African bush elephant, and which weighed about 6 tons, and it was one of the elephants that didn't have a curved tusk but the straight tusk, and it reached about 8 feet high. And so they were walking on the beach, and the mom says that like 10 minutes before, her son said how much he loves elephants, and the next thing they knew, they spotted something on the shore, and it caught both of their eyes. Obviously, it's different looking than a rock, and so they just, it's, to me, it's just so unbelievable, like, that you could find something millions of years old on the beach. And it made me think about really, like, how many things we may just walk over,
Oh my God.
and never know what they are, or never see it as something, we pick something up and we go, oh yeah, this looks like a blah blah tooth. And then we don't think about it, and we don't know if it was a blah blah tooth, or whatever. But I mean that's a long time ago, 2 million years.
Yeah, and but you think about all the societies and cities that are like buried under other cities that we find when we go to put in a sewer system or something, and it's like, how was that there and we didn't know?
Yeah, and they think that the tooth was like buried in the rock in the cliff, and that it might have gotten flushed out through erosion.
Right, finally got to the place where it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought it was interesting. I just thought it was amazing, that they really found it and looked at it, and it just really brought back up for me.
So
to pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention. This there was another story very similar about a kid on a field trip in the UK somewhere, I believe, somewhere in Europe, and he found a 1,300-year-old sword. Now, the kid's on a field trip going to places that other people obviously go all the time for special things, and he pulls out the sword. How does that happen? That's just, interesting. Partly, I think, because kids are so darn curious. Oh, they notice it's different. Why is it different? What is it? And they don't do what we do, which is, it's whatever.
Right. Well, yeah, we're not jaded and bored. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you can see that this tooth, it looked like teeth. It looks like more than a rock.
Right.
So if you're at all curious, I don't know. But I just think it's amazing. And for me, on some level, it's like, I wonder about life 2 million years ago anyway. Like, really? There was real life, like people, I don't know, made meals and went to the market, and how did it look and how different it had to have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah. Was there a grocery store at every corner?
No, but there was a Starbucks. There was a Coffee Beans. All right. Well, that's the story. So anyway, just to know, stay awake and aware, and who knows what you'll see or what you'll find.
And that's really a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
Well, there you have it. So you don't want to miss it. You want to stay here and see all the exciting things going on out in the New Thought Media world, and come right back here with us on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you. Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
And we are back. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil.
And we are rocking the love.
Yes, we are.
We're rocking it without a G, though. Rocking feels funny. We're rocking the love.
Rocking.
All right. And that's what we're inviting you to do too today as we talk about loving all of it. Loving all of it. So we want to dive into that. Although I do want to say, Gil noticed some new things in the intermission in our commercial break. I think we should have a contest, like, what do you notice new in the announcements? Because those of you that are out there all the time, it gets kind of like, oh, yeah. But there were some new things today. So if you notice something new, type it in the chat. See what you're listening to, what you're picking up. All right. But now, we're talking about loving all of it.
And what do we mean by that? What? Okay. So let's just start with love. Let's start there.
Always a good place.
Always a good place. So we sometimes hear everything is love. We sometimes hear, that I have unconditional love for those around me, etc. So we have a lot of things about what love is that we are embracing without distinction and all of these things. We also talk a lot about love in terms of being froofy. You know, sometimes it's just like it's all rainbows and unicorns, and we know that that's not always true. We know we talk about tough love. We talk about being loving to somebody with holding a boundary or etc. And yet it goes beyond that as well. So the questions really come up with like, what does it mean to love everything in your life? Every experience, every person, everything that shows up in your life.
It's a good question. I mean, because I think that, I think on this journey as we're, especially, as we're getting older, it's like things take on different meanings and different ways of being around it. And so, yeah, I think that, love is messy. And I think, I'll speak for myself, during my 20s, 30s, maybe love was much more elusive and, it held a whole different meaning and different possibilities. Not that it doesn't now, but it's different. And I think that, as we get older, love becomes a practice, whereas I'm not sure you have the tools to even engage in the practice in the early years. It's more, it's more of a thing you're expected to do.
Well, I think we're learning how to relate to everything, and that happens from the time of birth forward. We're learning how to relate to our world. We're learning what gets us what we want. We're learning how to get other people to like us, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And so as we learn about being loved and feeling loved, and what does that mean, and how does that affect my ability to trust love? I think so many of us don't trust it, that makes truly loving all of it very difficult.
Okay, so why don't you share like an example or how this came up for you?
So one of the things that I think happens often is that we have situations with other people that are really uncomfortable, and somebody is upset. Somebody wants to let us know where we've screwed up. They want to do whatever it is, and they're not very filtered in the moment, whatever the situation is. Okay, and I think the tendency for me anyway is to shut that off, to look for a way to make it okay, to make it better, to make them feel all right so they're not doing that and all of those things. And the thing that occurred to me was perhaps the loving thing to do is to simply hold the space for it and allow that person to walk through whatever's coming up. Because if we have to adjust what's coming up for ourselves, if we're pushing stuff down and all of that, then we're not able to fully get to the love in our lives either. So, there's this way in which we both do it for ourselves and for others.
So, I would just invite you to say more about holding the space for it. In lay terms.
It would be allowing the other person to have feelings, allowing things to come to you that you don't have to take personally. You can understand that they're expressions of frustration, but you don't have to receive them as personal attacks. So that's got to do with where I'm at. Can I do that? And I think see the truth of the other, meaning we know the heart of who we are interacting with, whether it's a spouse or a friend or a colleague. If we know their heart, then we can stand with them when they're in a difficult spot, when they're having an experience. And that's what I mean by holding space. We just hold that space for them, and we don't insert ourselves into it and try to make it better, try to fix it, try to make them better, try to convince them that it's really not that bad, try to apologize for what we think we did or apologize for the rest of the world, those kinds of things.
So in short, you're saying not making it about us.
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm not so good at that.
I hadn't noticed. No, but I mean, not making it about us. It's like instead of trying to fix it, because obviously most of the time our natural response is to want to make it better, to want to make it go away, to want to make it easier, whatever the motivating it is. We want it to get better. We don't want if somebody's losing their mind and they're upset and they're crying and screaming and yelling, we want to get them back to baseline or to a place where everything is calm, where it's nice, and we can all coexist together.
We all play nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're saying instead of that, letting go of trying to make it work in your head and fix it, and really just being able to be there and let it get explored however that happens. Which doesn't necessarily mean not doing anything, but it definitely means listening in a different
way.
Yeah.
And loving it. Bringing love to it as opposed to bringing, my fixing tools, my hammers and saws to try to figure out how to make it work. But bring love to it and just hold it in love. And allow someone to feel, to be witnessed and loved, and allow that to take its course.
Well, speaking of love, we have a Calgarian present. Welcome, Wayne. So good to have you and your Canadian contingency in the house.
Woo.
Yes. Yeah. So, and I think, and so what's the challenge with that? Why is it that we want to intervene with our head and not our heart?
I think because it can be very uncomfortable. Again, I go back to the idea that love is very fluffy and nice, and love is nice. And so if we're loving it, it should be nice too. And so whether that's a person or an event or whatever, if it's in my life, for me to love it, it should be nice. And if it's not nice, then I don't think it deserves my love, or I think I need to fix it, or I think it's not love. It doesn't have love in it, even though it may well have love in it. I mean, it has to ultimately, because that's how it is.
Yeah, I hear you. So, I'm trying to think of an example, that we can use. A lot of people are estranged from their families. I know a lot of people that are challenged by their relationship with their kids and have a long distance relationship with their parents. And when I say long distance, I don't mean only distance. I just mean there hasn't been communication, and there's actively like kids that don't talk to their parents, or parents that don't seek out their kids. We were having that conversation yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
With someone. So like how do you apply love in that situation?
Well, I think you said it earlier at some level. We have to get over ourselves. We have to not make it about us. And that's a hard spot to do that, because I have hurt feelings, or I think they owe me an apology, or I think, right? There's always something about it that somebody else needs to do. And The question is, can we love it in spite of what we think other people need to do? Can we bring love to the situation even if it's not looking the way we want it to? Can we embrace it as our life? Can we embrace it with love, with the expectation that love will always prevail? So one of the ideas of loving it all that I've looked at was choosing radical acceptance and finding gratitude in the entire human experience. So radical acceptance means I accept all of it as in terms of this life. All that's in it is to be loved. Whether I am dealing with some kind of diagnosis in my body, or diagnosis in my mental body, or I'm dealing with relationship with a spouse, or the ending of a marriage, or the beginning of, everything. Radical acceptance and finding the gratitude in the entire experience. So when we stand in our gratitude and we just pour love into whatever the situation is, we can allow the situation to be what it is and know that love is there.
Okay, so you're saying basically that the first step is to stop fighting what is.
Okay? Yeah.
Right? That basically love begins where resistance ends. So when we stop arguing with reality, like this shouldn't be happening, they owe me an apology, I shouldn't feel like this, blah, 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 all of the shoulds, when you hear the shoulds coming up, then we create a space that allows clarity and compassion to surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really important about that is that when we say love, it doesn't really mean approval, because we use love for approval a lot, right? It really means it's really about presence. And, so when we embody the presence, that really anchors the real thing. Does that make sense?
So when you embody presence, we embody the presence of love in our lives. We hold that love as present right here, right now, regardless of what else is, or what is, just what is. Am I at the birth of a child and it's so warm and fuzzy and wonderful, or am I at the memorial of a friend and I'm sad and it doesn't matter. If we're holding that love, it's not that it doesn't matter in terms of how I may feel, but we know in our hearts that the love is there and I can embrace it as part of my wonderful, loving life experience.
Yeah, and I think what's also important about that is we talked a lot about spiritual bypass. Love isn't about a bypass. Love doesn't bypass at all. Love doesn't bypass. It includes. It's inclusive, right?
Right.
And so we're going to feel the feelings and all of those things, and we have to feel the feelings in order to allow them to move through our body. Otherwise we get stuck in the place where we can't allow the love to really be that determining, embodying factor, right?
I think that's really an interesting point. That we have to embody that love. It becomes a part of who we are. And it therefore shows up in whatever the situation is. but I can't. It's inclusive. I can't hold stuff outside of love. I can only bring stuff into love. When I bring it into love, that creates a shift or potential shift. When I hold it on the outside of that love by saying, that's not okay, don't do that, or I'm done with them, or I can't stand it that I feel like this, whatever that is, where we try to push whatever the experience is outside, then love, then the love can't operate. We're not allowing the love
Right.
to work.
No, and when you embrace something with love, you're really letting that love, that emotion of love, move through your body instead of locking it down. Right? You're allowing. I mean, it's like a somatic experience. You start to breathe with it. You soften around it. That's when you can let go of making somebody else wrong, or thinking, well, they should do it this way, or and that's how, like, that emotional journey, and that whatever it is, that pain or that heartache or that feeling or whatever it is that's coming up, I mean, that's how it becomes the wisdom that informs us the next time on some level, and allows more love to come in. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I mean, I'm processing along with you. I'm not.
I hear you. Yes, and I think that's accurate.
So, okay, so those are, so really just, I mean, we could go through steps of doing this, and we could talk about them, each one on the show for, I mean, certainly a whole segment. But I mean, I think that this embodying that, that opens, because to me, once you can get there, then you start to open up the portals to other places, right? Like, you don't, then you're not fighting to be right, or you're really choosing compassion over control. You're getting curious instead of making judgments about something, like somebody sits down with you, you're not going, well, duh, it was going to happen. I mean, did you see the way you did blah, 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 blah? You're not stuck in that place. You're really opening up and just, getting curious instead of being, if we're coming from that place of judgment, that shuts down our heart,
What if it's really scary?
Well, isn't it really scary on the other side too? What if you don't do it? I mean, what are you protecting if you can't be your authentic self?
Yeah. But I think, even the idea of fear has to be included in the love. It has to be okay that I'm having this feeling of fear. But like you say, it can't become the place from which I act. I have to include it in the love and bring it into the fact that it's a part of life and I'm moving forward.
Yeah, and I think your point, what if it's really scary? I get it, that's a real thing, and a worthwhile topic, and I really don't know, like, how to make that easier for people. For me, it's always, what's on the other side. And, like, as scary as one may seem, I mean, for me, I go to, what if I die without having done anything I'm supposed to have done, or been who I'm supposed to be, or my people don't know that I love them, or I have, like, what if I really don't live truly as who I am? And that, to me, for me, becomes more scary. then I don't know, because I don't have the fear the same way you do. We have different fears. So I don't know what the fear is in that moment for you.
That's interesting. I think it's another thing that we forget in that love thing, and that is, as we include all of it, as we surround it all in love, the what ifs dissolve because we don't have to deal with the what ifs. You know, things that aren't really happening,
Right.
haven't really come to pass. We just embrace that and allow it to dissipate because it doesn't matter. Right? So.
Well, yeah,
You know.
and I mean, I go back to principle, and I know it sounds really airy fairy, but it's not, because I don't like to think I'm saying words as, just platitudes of what everybody says and does in this New Thought movement. And if I really believe truly that I am this unique emanation of spirit and I'm here on purpose, then my heart wants to live more into my purpose, rather than, when I feel the judgment of, yeah, but what if there's somebody that does it better than me? Then I know that on some level I'm not in integrity with myself, because judgment is shutting down that heart space.
Mm-hmm.
Even the curiosity, even if I'm afraid, like you said, what if I'm afraid? That's just a place to get curious, for me, because it's like, then you go to those things like, what is this moment asking of me? What is happening? Why am I feeling this? What's this feeling trying to show me? Why am you know what I mean? What part of me needs care now, or whatever that is, and then we really allow. I mean, I think even words like curiosity and judgment. Judgment is stagnant. It stops us. Curiosity is a word that's in motion. Love is in motion. Curiosity is love in motion, right? I mean, those kind of things. Inquiry, that's okay. Those are okay. What if you're scared? What if you're scared? Great. Explore that moment. And at some place in the journey, I think you get to whatever the answer is.
So what if, bringing someone into the conversation or whatever sets up a dynamic, at least in one's mind, that they can be rejected. And if they're rejected, then that becomes the finality. And so there's an illusion that we're living in the openness when we avoid the actual thing. When we push it outside the love circle and we won't bring it in and love it. We're avoiding the sense that somehow the love won't be accepted. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very real space that we come from at different times.
Yes, I think it is too. And I think that's where the work is so important, because that's our work with ourselves, right? If there's only one of us here, and if you're really coming from a place of love, then it can only be returned with love. Does that mean it's going to look like what you want? No, not necessarily, unfortunately. And sometimes it looks better than you want. But I think if you start from that place, if you find yourself in that place of inquiry, then you've got your own work to do with forgiveness of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something that's holding you back, and I'm talking to the general you, keeping you in that place. And once again, if you're going in like that, to a situation, you're going in with an expectation for the outcome, as opposed to if I want to make up with my best friend from high school that we had a fight and never talked again,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to go in with the love that I have for my best friend from high school. I'm not going to go in to try to prove that I was right that day, or that after all these years, why didn't they ever try to contact me, or, all of those things. It's like, what is the overriding, what is really what you want to be held in that situation or known in that situation. And again, if I go in with all that love, then it may not look the way I want it to look. I mean, can I use an example from your life?
Sure.
I'm thinking about Keith, and I'm thinking about you. Gil had a college, high school, elementary school, whatever, friend for a very long time. And, they had their differences, they were apart. And then finally, at some point, I think Gil had tried to contact him before and make up kind of thing. And then he wrote a letter trying to make up, and Gil didn't answer. And so I'm thinking about that situation, because you don't know except from the letter, what Keith was coming with, and what, I'm thinking it was love, because there's no reason for it not to have been after all these years on some level. I had a better point to make with that whole story, but the whole story threw me off. But anyway, I'm just saying to say, if you're going in and if you're trying to take control of the situation, or if you're trying to prove something, it's not going to be that situation. If you're going in with love, and you can really accept it if somebody says, thanks for sharing, I still think you stink, and I don't want to be in your life. It's okay, because you've fulfilled your piece. You've let go.
Well, and I think responding or participating in some action that may have been initiated by someone else is a place of meeting it with love, loving all the things. Because if that was the request, then why would I not? Except that I'm afraid, I don't want to be rejected again. I'm angry still.
Yeah.
They were wrong. Whatever the thoughts are.
Right.
Right? They should have never done that to me.
And all those things are real. And again, but it comes back to, so then you sit with that. But they're clear. They tried.
Right.
And they said whatever they needed to say in the letter, and then I think that's where you're coming from in a way, is that's what's scary, right? That's what's scary, is all those things you just said. All right, we have like 3 minutes, and I want to get to Shay. And says, I literally just received this envisioning. I have to be my authentic self in relationships. If they don't love me, then okay. I love my beautiful self. I'd rather be alone than hide myself. Yeah. At the end of the day, right? Were you going to say something?
No, I'm just thinking, can we love that situation? Whatever those situations are, where someone appears to not accept me. Can I pour love into that situation? Am I available, for instance, for when the example you use, somebody comes back to me and says, I want to talk to you now. Can we have the love in that space? Can we have held the love so that the love draws in the possibilities rather than cutting them out? Yes. They don't like me, I get it, okay. But does that mean I have to not like them or to be mad at them or to be any of those things? I'm not saying any of that for you, Shay. I'm just saying that that's where the question comes in there. To me, that's where the rubber meets the road is, are we then also holding it in love and loving the fact that that's a part of our life, and we get to learn about how to be ourselves, how to be authentic, how to love that authentic self, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's a big, piece of this particular show is to remember really that love doesn't fix problems, it transforms situations, right? So when you embrace a situation with love, it may not immediately change it,
Right.
but it changes you. You change. And when you change, everything around you changes. So it may not look exactly the way we would like, And I think also to always go to, some of those questions and ask yourself in those situations, what am I choosing here? What am I choosing? Am I choosing control? Am I choosing compassion? Because control is that place that says, like, okay, I'll love this or I'll love you when it changes, when things are different.
When you acknowledge that I am a good person, when you whatever it is.
Right. And like Shay just said, compassion or love speaks from that place of, I'll love myself through this. That it's not about everything. It's about, can I stay in integrity with myself? And if you're acting from that place of integrity, then you are loving yourself through the situation.
And you're also loving them if you're really acting from that place of loving integrity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so also I think there's a place where we can all look for the gifts inside of all of the mess, right? And like, what's teaching me way, and how do I continue to be love, or how do I grow to be more love in this thing, and whether we're going, oh, this is a good lesson, or, oh, this is a mirror of what else is happening in my life, or whatever it is, that it just, if we can stay in that place of love, it truly helps us find, like, the doorway to being more love.
Yes. And so we encourage us to open ourselves to loving all of it. Because ultimately, I believe that allows us to live a fuller, richer, better life.
Yes. And I want to once again enforce Shay's message, because I really think, like, a good mantra for this particular topic is, I don't have to like it to love myself through it, because we're not going to like it all the time. But
Right.
We still have to go back to ourselves. And, even your question of, what if it's scary? When you say that about yourself or a situation, is that where the love is? Can you love yourself into power?
Right.
Into that space of knowing the truth of who you are. Woo! There we have it. So this week, just notice the love. Be the love. Really be the love. In a different way. We know we tell you to rock the love all the time, and do that too. But really just notice the places where you're not feeling so motivated to rock the love with yourself. And we'll see you next week. Right
here. That's right. On Rockin the Love, we love you all, and we're grateful for your presence with us, your presence with us later, and your feedback, whether it's during the show or after. We just appreciate all of it.
We do, and we know you appreciate our producer Michael Mangus being here, because you didn't have those wonky commercial breaks like when we're our producers. So thank you, Michael Mangus, for all that you do. Thank you, Robert Brzezinski and New Thought Media Network, for saying yes and for being here and for rocking the love. And we'll see you next week. Bye.